All right, I am so excited to be able to introduce the next presenter, as she is my friend and colleague, and we have been working on this conference for 4 years together, and it is one of our true passions. And bringing fellow educators together is something that we just hold near and dear to our heart and know that it needs to happen more often. And a lot of times it's out of reach for people because it's too far and it's expensive. So we just decided that we needed to do this for other professionals out there. So I am honored to be her friend and colleague. So Dr. Heald is an assistant professor at Ashford University. She's amazing. And if we have students in here who have had her, you know that. She has a PhD in education, a master's in education, a BA in elementary education, and an AAS in early childhood. She also holds a dual advanced certificate in building and district level education leadership from St. John's University, where she graduated Kappa Del Pi. Her journey has since included classroom teaching, coaching teachers, facilitating professional development, leading both district and county-wide literacy initiatives, and instructing students in traditional and online courses. While moving to 5 different states in as many years, Stephanie immersed herself in the local schools and connected online with educators around the world. This immersion not only allowed her to meet new educators and see local efforts, but opened her eyes to the real need for a higher quality learning institute accessible to all. So in 2008, she joined the Ashford team, and we are all honored to be a part of her team. She also has a beautiful family and 2 awesome sons that I have really enjoyed getting to know. So Dr. Heald, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. What a nice welcome. Thank you. I'm excited.
Okay, for this disclaimer, we just want you to take a second to read through this and understand that an online degree from Ashford University does not lead to immediate teacher licensure in any state. And if you want to become a classroom teacher, you are at Ashford, you will have to go back to your state's education and decide how to move forward with that. So I will give you just a few seconds to read through that. All right, the next disclaimer says that Ashford University is not responsible for any of the links, photos, videos shared during this presentation, and that you have to assume the risk on your own. And without further ado, Dr. Heald, be awesome.
So thank you and welcome. I'm so thrilled to co-lead with Dr. Shipley this conference, and super excited to have you here today. I am, as Dr. Shipley said, I'm a full-time faculty at Ashford, and I love technology. So a lot of my presentations focus on technology and how we can integrate that in every grade from preschool right up to higher education. So welcome to this one today. Why are we here? I'm going to go off camera so that you're able to just see the full slide on this. There we go. So what you can see on the left is a starting point of one of the first presentations I was slated to work on at Ashford. And my job was to create a map showing where everyone is. The remote faculty were located around the world. So at that time, I found a really cool tool that allowed me to plot this map that you see. And then I took a screenshot and then I integrated that into a PowerPoint. Pretty advanced for the time. Well, the picture on the right is a fast forward to 5 years later, when I actually visited the Ashford campus and I saw this virtual map that had laser pinpoints of where each and every student was logging in from at that moment. And every couple seconds, the map updated and it changed based on where the students, when and where the students were logged into the Ashford portal. So our technologies and our advancements have changed so much. And our practices as educators, as early childhood educators, need to also change based on the tools and the society needs available to us. So education today obviously is the most advanced it's ever been. You saw what 5 years brought. So we have more tools, more resources, more technologies at hand. Really, we have a wealth of tools at our fingertips. Well, most recently, these tools became a primary resource and a resource that we need to teach rather than just that desired voluntary supplement to help our teaching. The unforeseen pandemic has really pushed us to face some of the biggest challenges ever in education. And with that brings a level of digital presence and digital comfort that as educators, we have to be comfortable with in order to be successful. Just a quick little fact, side note, there's 1.2 billion children in 186 countries that have been affected by the school closures due to the pandemic, according to the World Economic Forum. So that being our current situation right now, all levels of education from preschool to higher education really need to include an online component. So as an educational professional, as I sat down to develop this presentation, someone who loves technology, now more than ever, there is a need, I can say this now, there is a need for all of our education professionals to have a level of comfort with these online learning tools. So today I bring you a professional toolkit that is a great starting point for educational professionals to dive into the digital divide. So in thinking about this from a teaching perspective, so thinking about that term digital divide from a teaching perspective, I really thought that it was important to understand that anywhere access really helps educators create a digital footprint. And inevitably, that's a greater tool for us as an educator to support whatever our needs might be at that present time. So it might be employment needs, the need to be an early childhood educational professional, maybe a need to network, maybe family partnerships, or digital education. So historically, teaching portfolios were a collection of just documents, text-based documents very often, prepared for the purpose of applying for the next level in academics, sometimes applying for jobs, sometimes documenting professional development. I can truly remember going into Office Max in my town and getting a leather-bound portfolio. And then I remember getting specific cardstock, all the same color, and printing it out on my printer, putting them into the sheet protectors and entering them into that leather-bound portfolio that I took with me. I took it all through my master's degree and added to it. I took it as I started my employment, and it was really something that I would add things to, I would take things from, and it really was just the intent of it was for me to showcase the best qualities of me as a professional in my academics as well as in the professional world. It was my factual description of all my accomplishments centered around key supporting documents that I reflected on why I included them. So really that leather-based portfolio was just a true reflection of who I was as an educator. In today's society, the digital portfolio serves that same purpose. So as an educator, you have the option to create several different portfolios online. Portfolios can be child-driven, they can be professional-driven, they can be academic-driven. Child-driven portfolios often include child's artifacts. So this is an awful story to tell you guys, but as a parent, my children brought home so many print pieces, paper pieces of artwork. And I got to the point where I just couldn't store anymore. So they started to go to the recycle bin when no one was looking. Well, as an educator, I didn't want that to happen, but I knew realistically it was probably going to happen. So I thought about ways I could start to include digital portfolios. What if I took a picture of my children's artwork? What if I took a picture of the awesome painting of our dog that my, at the time, 10-year-old made and was going to ask me about later, and I put it on some sort of a digital media where it didn't take up any space? So as a mom, I could see the relevance of this. And as a teacher, I thought about how this could be student-driven. Your portfolio could also be professional-driven. It could be intended to showcase the best qualities of you as a professional, like I said. It could be a factual description of who you are and who you want to be, who you are now, maybe as a student, and who you see yourself in the future. The cool thing about this is regardless of where you attend your studies, regardless of where you are in your future, regardless of, in your profession, regardless of where you want to be in your future, you can utilize relevant documents to align this portfolio to who you are and just build this digital footprint. So where to begin? This is a very lofty task. And you might think, I'm not really sure. I don't have too much technology knowledge. I don't really love technology. Don't leave. Please don't leave. We're at 62 participants. We will get there together. We will talk about how we can make these very advanced portfolios and how we can make these just very basic portfolios. But regardless, a digital footprint to show who you are. So what you really have to do first is think about why you're creating this portfolio. What is your purpose? Are you looking possibly for future employment? Are you wrapping up your career in your studies and you want to look for the next level either in your career or in your studies? Is it a space for your families and children to go learn more about your program, more about your classroom, more about you as a professional? Is it just a space that you want to compile and keep your documents together in an organized manner? Well, good news is, regardless of your rationale for being here today, and regardless of your rationale for wanting to create a portfolio, guess what? It all centers back to that center question of purpose. So you need to think about who your audience will be, and we can modify from there. Preparing a portfolio for an employer might have a different focus now than preparing a portfolio for your future class or your families. But remember, portfolios are reflective in nature and they're growing. They're more process-based rather than product. So we can start with a starting point and build on it from there. So initially, I really just want you to think about what your space is going to look like and how do you want it to feel and how do you want it to function. And from there, that's a great starting point for everyone, technology levels aside. So anytime you enter into a website, one of the greatest feelings is being able to navigate it through with ease. I know sometimes when I can't find things, it's easily frustrating and I actually just walk away instead of investing the time into it. So when things are organized and they follow some sort of a format, that really helps me with my navigation. So your portfolio should be filled with that great content, obviously, but it should also be a format that's easy for your audience to navigate through. Not too filled, because it could be overcrowded, cluttered, or jumbled. And guess what? As you'll see today, creativity is key. So formatting should be clear and consistent, but the format is really up to who you are. So you want to make sure you have an organized and visually appealing look, but at the same time, the examples you'll see today really show uniqueness and creativity and really gives the best snapshot of each professional that you're going to see today. So finally, the last one before we get into the fun part, the digital portfolio. This digital footprint is an amazing resource. Obviously, I've given you some reasons already, but right now what we're gonna do is kind of look at how these can be unique to you and how some of the samples I share with you today contain common elements. And these elements are really what showcase the best in each professional. So they're aligned with hiring requests, they're aligned with several employment websites, and these don't change. So whether you're looking to, like I said, further your academic studies by going on for your master's or a more advanced degree, or you're looking to propel your career forward, or you're looking to create a classroom website, regardless, several of these have certain components that are going to maintain the same focus for each one that you can keep and add on to as you continue to grow. So while they seem basic, I'm going to cover a very different perspective. So I'm going to put a spin on that text-based one that I was able to take into the field with me 20 years ago. So I'm really going to highlight some new twists. Okay. So I'm not going to give too much direction here, but I do need to just address it briefly. I'm not going to talk about the creation tool that you use because really there are so many amazing examples out there and so many tools and resources out there that do this. I've put a couple from 2020 on the screen, but I really recommend that you check each and every one out and find one that is most aligned with the one that fits your personal learning style best. So each and every one offers something really different. I've just kind of tried to highlight a high and low, but they also offer weaknesses. So depending on the look as well as the creation process, each one of these offers a little something different. So while I will use Google Sites a lot, I'm not necessarily saying that is the one everyone should use. I'm just using it because it is the least complex and it is not associated with a fee. So here are just some examples for you to check out. The one thing I like most about creating a portfolio is the fact that, like I said, no matter your technological knowledge, you have such a support system in templates. And that's, as you can see on the screen to the left-hand side, really what I did is just put in education portfolio on Google Sites, and it brought me up to this template. So the base of the portfolio is there. And guess what? It's now my job to create the content, but the framework's there. So I just need to create the content right from the text-based and picture-based template right there. So that's just such a time saver. And to be honest with you, it looks so much better, aesthetically pleasing, and navigating is so much easier with the template. On the right-hand side, excuse me, you can see another example of Wix template. So everything is there. So all I would do is click on the graphics and go ahead and change those. You can also see on that one, they even went a little bit further and put your formatting lines, so it makes it really easy to go in and edit. Many of the templates that you will find and use are very user-friendly. So all you need to do is click on where the text is and put an example of, put your content in there. So instead of achievement, strengths, and goals, on the left-hand side one, you might put resume, teaching philosophy, and artifacts. And then you might add pictures in there of those. So we'll take a peek at those specifically. So the good news is, regardless of your starting point, you have the ability to access these templates, and already you at least have a portfolio, and that's a step in the right direction. So just like the entrance of our classrooms, of our early childhood education environments, your landing page serves as what your audience sees the minute they open your portfolio. So your landing page should be something representative of who you are as an individual. So you want to make sure that it's, again, organized and just provides an overview of what the audience is going to see when they come here. It's the first stop. So you want to make it really inviting so that your audience wants to come here. You want to create a welcome space, and this could be to your program, it could be to you as a professional, it could be to your objective in obtaining a new career position. The examples on the screen, you can see a colorful and unique appearance. There's clear navigation tools, there's heading, and you know what? There's content that's very welcoming. This was actually shared from one of my Ashford University students, and you can see on the top, they have a great start to adding more to this. The great thing about it is that this, like I said, is a process. It's not a product. So you can just start by making your landing page today. And it may take you a week to make your landing page. What you're able to do is add pages after that, very slowly and at your own pace. And you may decide the next most important page that you want on there is the About Me page. Well, you might add that a month later, and then you might come back and decide, I don't want the About Me page, I want the About the Program page, and you're able to edit that. So this really does not serve as a shelf document. It does not serve as a living document. It really serves as one that you continually go back and refine and add to and edit. So it's very reflective in nature in that sense. Okay, so on the screen, you'll see here is something very different. This one is much more monochromatic. And while the last one was the landing page, this one is actually just a page, an About Me page. So as you can see, again, here, there's just some very factual things to the right. There's a graphic to the left, and you can see just below a little bit of a bio. Again, what I like about this is that it gives you that clear picture, those academics experience, and anything else is right there. You can see it. And they're very different portfolios. The first one was bright and colorful. The second one was more monochromatic. But each are appealing in their very own way and easy to see the purpose and content. So again, feel free to be creative. This example really caught my eye because it included both the landing page and the About Me page right on that first page. So this one is bright and colorful, and it's very different than the last one. It shows a little bit about the teacher there in the middle, and it also shows a little bit about her classroom. So you can see a bit of personality in each of these portfolios. And like I said before, there is no right or wrong. So just be as creative as you absolutely want. So we move on to the second component that is often seen across many different portfolios, and that is your teaching philosophy. And this really is the cornerstone of who you are as a professional, and it could be the cornerstone of your portfolio based on your preferences. So your teaching statement, it shows a little about your identity as a teacher, a little about your story. It might have what goals you have for your students, how can you help students achieve those goals, and how you might assess learning. It's likely that if you're in education, it's likely that you've probably spent some time on pedagogy. You've probably spent some time on those educational philosophies and theories. And this is the most amazing place for you to take those learnings from your study and just really utilize those in a very individualized manner and integrate those with putting out how you can come across with those as a professional. So it's your chance to really showcase your academic knowledge in a way that explains who you are as an individual education professional. I have seen so many of these lately, and unfortunately I didn't snapshot the ones and I wasn't able to go back and find them, but I've seen audio versions. I've also seen multimedia versions, and the most coolest one that I've seen lately is one that was actually done through a role play scenario. So it was a teacher asking a child certain questions related to their teaching philosophy, and the child would give back their answer, and then the teacher would actually give back their answer. So it was a really neat way. Again, the portfolio sites now very often include the option to add multimedia and video and audio, as well as outside resources. So this is very doable. The one on the screen is also a text-based one. So this is a really great starting point in the fact that you have a very clear idea as to what this education professional values. Her 5 values are right there. They're in bold, and you can see in a very quick manner as you look through this what those are. On the right-hand side of that, you can see this portfolio author's personal purpose, objective, and focus. Now, again, this is something that might change through time. So you might have this very focused on your academics initially. So your purpose might be to obtain a BA in early childhood education. Well, after your BA, you may change that. And it may then be to obtain a job in early childhood education, obtain a role or a career in early childhood education. And then again, once you land that career, you may refine that text in that little place again to be, my purpose is to, just like it says, create a safe and positive environment. So you might then change it to be your educational environment page. Again, very reflective and very process-based. On the bottom, this is actually one of the students in our BA ECEA program. And on the very bottom, you'll see they've also identified some SMART goals there. So very helpful in moving forward and just letting others know who you are as an educator. So on the screen, you'll see the third component that is often in professional portfolios, and that is a resume. Now, again, quick story. I remember putting my resume, and actually my mom typed my first one, like the typing machine where the keys went up and the whiteout came up if you typed the wrong key. So I'm talking way back in the day. So then I remember going to college, and I remember her saying, you have to get a certain thickness paper, and you have to get it, has to be toned this way, and you have to print in this font. Well, today, the content of the resume is still extremely important. But the resumes of the past, you know, that content is still, it really hasn't changed too much. But today, the digital versions are actually accepted and preferred. So one resource for this that I do really strongly recommend, just because they have such an amazing bank of templates, is Canva. You can actually see that on the bottom, cited on the bottom. So this is a web-based tool. It is free. It allows you to choose, let me go back. It is free, but I believe they offer additional resources on the website for a fee. So I used mine I made mine using the free-based one, and it makes it very easy because all that you need to do is plug in your information. So the formatting stays consistent, the headings are there, it is really, really, really organized and just kind of broken apart. So the value of this is it really allows you to produce an aesthetically pleasing overview of who you are as an education professional with still having those need those needed components of a resume. So you can see that there are professional ones that you can choose from. There are several templates in there. You can choose one with a picture. The side shows you the templates that you just need to be individualized. So you can embed your actual text of your resume right in here, and then you can print these out at home. So just different flares based on your, your preferences. What I really like too is, again, as I said at the bottom, you are able to create one that is academic, and you then are able to later create one that is professional. The cool part about that is these can be easily integrated into your portfolio. So initially, if you have an academic one that you developed, you're able to embed that into your portfolio. And then again, you're able to then shift, and maybe your resume looks completely different. But again, you have that page there that houses it. Okay, so I'm going to hope that you can hear this, but another section that is really important to include is artifacts. And that looks so different. And really, to be honest with you, with this, the world is really wide open on it. So artifacts are really the examples of materials that you have produced, supporting documents, materials that you've created or made or used, or anything that shows who you are as an educator, an example of who you are as an educator. The most common ones, text-based ones, are lesson plans, curriculum plans, daily schedules. If you created a professional development calendar, classroom management, positive reinforcement strategies, your parent partnership plans, and just several other things that you want to communicate to your audience. So like I said, a recent spin includes resources that really help support our children and families, who may be dealing with learning at home differently this year. So I can tell you one of the most common questions that I received from families who had very young children is, this is such a crucial time for learning. They do so much in preschool. They do so much in early education. How can I support that when I don't have that formal knowledge, to teach them how to read, or I don't have that formal knowledge of the literacy process. And really my response to this is that the best thing that you can do right now for your kiddos, your children, to support their learning and to supplement their learning with these diverse times and these challenging conditions is really just reading with them. So this was something that I created and I added to my portfolio. So I'm going to go ahead and try to play it. And if not, that is okay. So it's just an example of myself going through one of my favorite stories and modeling what a read aloud looks like. So definitely bringing attention to comprehension questions and just stopping and doing think alouds for families to see that it doesn't have to be something that is, super planned out. It could be more of a dialogue with the child. If you stumble upon a vocabulary word that a child might not know, it's just working through that vocabulary word with the child using conversation and dialogue to help them learn that word better, and how we can add comprehension questions throughout the story to just really make sure that we're, covering those focuses of literacy through a fun and engaging manner that everyone can do. Now, the end of this actually shows also how you can engage in literacy activities without literacy materials such as books, if you don't have them in the home. So again, something right now is that my portfolio is showing that there's relevancy right now. We're in a whole new world now in education, and it's not real clear. And families just long for something. So in your portfolio, if you had that artifact page, this might be something you include on there, just really in recent times. So let's see. Okay, here's another example. And I just really love this example. Like I told you, the opportunity to create the different looks of the portfolios is really endless. So I loved this one because it really showed the orange links are actually links to PDFs and links to materials for families. I loved the fact that it connected the text and it connected the more formalized learning with the multimedia examples. So it showed a 4th grade math lesson, and then over on the right-hand side, it actually showed a tour of the state's wrap. So it was really cool because it really was multidimensional, and it showed this teacher candidate or this professional is here's her showcase of her lesson plans, and here's some materials to support the lesson plans, and here's some text-based examples of who she is as a professional, and then here's her in action. And I just thought that's so cool. The cool part about any of the portfolio sites that I showed you is that you can upload multimedia, pictures, audio, all these things into it together. So you can have text and audio and video and, just print-based things on one page. It is not cluttered. It is very clear here what is going on the screen, and it is very easy to navigate through this. Again, just thinking about our world right now. As I looked through this portfolio, I was really inspired to think about how these could be sent to our extended families, given the circumstances right now. I know in my early childhood education environment, oftentimes extended families would visit. We'd have grandparents there, and we'd have aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, and parents, families, and guardians there. This is something right now that's kind of come to a halt, and I'm not sure it's going to open anytime soon in the near future. So given where we're at right now as a new teacher, having a portfolio where extended families could see lessons, or they could see, fun things that was going on in the classroom, and just having that same accessibility that they had before, but in a different format, is just a really cool way that we can move towards, a new level of norm for, momentous events. So going live is another option with portfolios, which is exciting. All right, here is another example. So remember back in the beginning, I said it could be student focused. Well, Edutopia, which is one of my favorite sites, published a really cool multimedia article that showed a tactic, and let me go back, I'm sorry. So it showed a tactic of integrating in student portfolios. And what they did is they had each and every one of their students create their own pages, and they had these pages hidden. So on the left-hand side, you can see this individual child's portfolio that only his family was able to access. So they had some links down there that they were able to go through, and they were able to see the connection to what was going on in the classroom. That's really cool because, again, it's just another resource to support our children and families, and they're able to actually see what's going on in the early childhood environments and possible areas of focus so that they're able to supplement at home. On the right-hand side, this educator put real clear lesson plans there, and links to photos, links out to photos, and there's a little narrative at the top what they did, and it's just a really neat way for families to get excited. Now, on the flip side of that, this is an amazing example of an artifact where the portfolio candidate or the portfolio author has bridged a gap. She's created family partnerships, and this is just something that educators and employers want to see. How can we create these partnerships with families who are so very busy and at the moment are not able to get into the classrooms? So this is a perfect example of how you're able to also showcase the fact that you can build these relationships and make these connections and support this online learning culture with the digital portfolio. Okay, this is the one with Edutopia. I jumped ahead a little bit too much, but Edutopia is one of my favorite sites, and this one shows the green screen bringing content to life. And again, this is a very recent article, and it's just a neat tactic where you can take a green sheet and it could be replaced with artwork. So you use an app and you're actually able to replace that green sheet with the child's latest artwork. So in my mind, I think early childhood education, and I can just think if I was to video, like you can see the other child doing with the iPad, if I was to video children, it would be so neat if in September I could give, a quick little interview. Hi, my name is Johnny. I'm in kindergarten. Here's how I write my name, and here is a drawing of a dog. And then fast forward to June at the end of the school year, where I do that same interview with Johnny with his most recent picture of the dog behind him, and I can hear Johnny's language development, and I can see Johnny's writing format, and I can see how his writing has, maybe it's elaborated to write one sentence, and I can see the fine motor has developed because his drawing is much more intricate and includes a lot more detail. So this awesome digital way just allows, and again, if you can't do it with the green screen, the child can simply put the piece of artwork or the piece of writing in front of them, and then you can take a picture of it and add it to the student portfolio. Again, you can also add it to your class portfolio, and just an awesome way to share with parents, just information that's going on throughout the class. And again, you're sharing something with them digitally, so it's not taking up space in their home, and they're able to get it with ease. Okay. Okay, again, just a very different type of portfolio, but as you can see at the top are the headings, just very easy to navigate. Another artifact that you might want to include is just examples of your learning environment. I like this one because it shows the enrichment section, and I screenshotted that and put it at the bottom right. So our parents are so busy. So just putting out there how they can support, what's going on in the classroom with those enrichment activities is just, it really helps support the learning and the partnerships. So we have several years of training. We know how to develop developmentally appropriate activities. We know how to make curriculum, lesson planning, objectives to frame students' learning. Families grapple with that, and they really kind of grapple with how to, come up with those activities. On the bottom right, I really like the fact that they were able to kind of show exactly how the activity was done. And it just really gives parents a framework, a starting point of something that they could actually do in their home. So I just think that's so cool. At the top, again, you can just see that bright environment. A potential employer could look and say, okay, a very organized classroom. I see good print-rich classroom. I see a system of organization. It looks like they are working on colors. It looks like there is a behavior management system in place. And there's a lot that you're able to see about a professional from their portfolio. Okay. The last example in here. So again, you can just see this is a very different example. And I just want to showcase that this one shows a little bit higher, but it shows a little bit higher meaning in grade level. So these topics are just a little bit more targeted towards early elementary. But there are 3 things on here that really impressed me. One, the link to digital lesson. And this was cool because if you are creating a portfolio as a professional, as a teacher candidate or as an early childhood education candidate, what you can do is actually tape your lessons and then put these here. Now, that could serve a great purpose when you're looking for employment or you're looking to further your education by applying to master's programs or whatever it may be. There is an example of you teaching, and that is great because it almost serves like a teacher observation. The flip side of that is, again, when you become a professional, if you're in that same developmental level, you'll be able to share this with your families. So say you're doing a lesson on weather in class. I'm pretty confident in telling you I don't really have much more than the basic knowledge about weather. I'm not, that might be something that I want to learn more about with my child. So these digital lessons allow our families to kind of integrate into our classroom experiences in the home environment. On the middle left, you can see this one was really interesting to me because it was a collaborative actual presentation where each student collaborated on a presentation, and they used Prezi to present certain influential Americans who helped fight for equal rights. Again, thinking about our times today, the cool part about this is we can tailor it to be maybe our students work on a collaborative project, but maybe it has to be home, and maybe it is not, focused on such a high level of content, but it's focused on something in early childhood. Therefore, what could we use and how could we do this? Well, in my mind, I see, very often in September, we start out with units on apples. So what could we do here? Well, maybe I could send something where I had each family send an apple recipe, and then I put together a Prezi, included it in my portfolio of our class's favorite apple recipes. So they might send me, and it could even be written on their end. They might send me something, and then I could pull all those together, put it into a Prezi, and include it in my portfolio. Again, just another demonstration of how I'm really working to build community and partnerships in my class. And then on the bottom right, you can see I loved this. And I loved it because, again, it captured where the kiddos were. It captured them participating in poetry slam. It captured where they were with fluency and where they were with, prosody and intonation as they read. So it was just a really great example that families could see their child, and again, by the end of the year, could see that growth and development. Okay, I'm going to step back a little bit, and remember I told you, regardless of your level of tech comfort and knowledge, there's a starting point. So it really would just be to add that landing page, and then probably one of the first things that you want to add is a lesson plan. And it is perfectly fine to include a text-based lesson plan. You can see the text on the screen. This was actually where one of my students started. She later added pictures, and she later added pages over time, but truly this was just a starting point. Now here's another student that did that exact same thing. So they actually started in one of my classes, and they were able to just add to this over time. So as you can see on the left-hand side, they started with their cover letter, and then they were able to add their biography, their model of teaching, developmentally appropriate practices, and it just became something that they were able to add through in this course, and then just built on it over time. So I want to encourage you that even if some of the technology shown today, I'm only showing to you as more of an inspiration, but really a starting point is just good old text and good old writing in there. Okay, so another thing that is found in portfolios and is something you really want to include is letters of recommendation. So these are a preference point really of how you want to integrate it. As you can see on the screen, this professional chose to include the actual letter of recommendation, and they chose to embed it as a screenshot or a picture. It's a great strategy because the artifact is right there and it can be easily read. Just one recommendation for you is that you ask the author if you can post their recommendation to your digital portfolio, because very often they'll approve and they'll be very willing. You just want to, as an etiquette thing, to ask for permission first. So you can see that here. Another example is to download the files, include downloaded files. So they're not necessarily right there, but you're able to access them through clicking the links. Now, one idea that I have for this one to just make it a little bit better would be to include some key words or phrases or quotes from the letter and just put those off to the right where there's a little bit of white space. So it might say something like, innovative educator, incorporating technology at a high level. It might just say something that is a positive and speaks to who you are as a professional, and just as a really quick quote right there. So they can see the whole letter in the file, but they can also just see that quick little snapshot of who you are as an educator. And then finally, you just might want to include something that shows your professionalism. So professionalism really is, it's related to our achievements in academics. It's related to, our achievements in, our experiences and our past, education, but it's also who we are. So this is your area to kind of showcase your achievements and showcase what you're proud of and you really want to share. So in mine, this was mine. I did not include letters of recommendation. I just included my dissertation, and I included an article, something that's very special to me. And it just shows that, we have those strong academic frameworks that we put in our resume, but this really shows you have a high level of professionalism and character also. As you can see, you can probably tell a little bit about me, and it just shows the employers that you're balanced. So sometimes including other levels of professional artifacts is helpful for them to see who you are. So just one final example of professionalism. Again, you can see this is a cover letter. It came from a student in one of my classes. And if this could be a great overview of what you want to accomplish. So if you're looking to obtain a role, as a director of a Head Start program, you're able to convey that right in your cover letter and add that here. So it really is another great way to model your writing and just let your audience know that you are a strong writer. It could be a great opener for potential employees to just get to know you a little bit better. Okay, and finally, portfolios need to be reflective in nature. So that being said, again, we talked about it being a process. I think it's important to include a level of reflection either on your artifacts or just an overall reflection. And I found this example, and it was a Prezi, and I screenshotted from the Prezi, and it was something that integrated in NACI standards. So this tells me that this portfolio author is highly knowledgeable in what's relevant in the field today, and then the portfolio candidate reflected on these. So it gives me an overall vision of who this candidate is, so I can kind of see a glimmer of who they are. As I read through them, I was really able to paint a picture of what the educator wanted to be, what they valued. It also gave me a little bit glimmer of their knowledge of pedagogy. And finally, the last section, and probably my favorite, is the file cabinet. So, and I say that partially joking, but partially in a very real manner. The resources favorites section is something that is a great tool for you actually personally, because you can use it as a file cabinet. Now, to others, it showcases your currency and possibly your credibility, things that you're aligned with, things that you value. But as a professional, I use it as a file cabinet. So, we're busy, we're running, and we always kind of find these, resources that we say, oh, when I teach such and such, I can, use that here. But reality of it is we get busy going through life, might not be able to remember them. So I use this last page as just a resource for me as my file cabinet. Well, the cool part about that is families can actually see these resources. And what better way to again share resources with who we want to support the most than put them right here. So I just think that's a great way. I love the fact that this candidate broke them up to kid resources, family resources, and teacher resources. Just think it's a real easy way, and again, a real quick link to be able to go through and see when needed. Okay, I talked a lot. I feel like I gave you a lot, but I want to tell you that I do hope that I gave you a manageable starting point, just to start your landing page, just to investigate some sort of portfolio hosting tool that you might use in the future. And I do hope that you have some ideas to work towards. You can see we're all very different. So it's really going to look different depending on your focus, your audience, your purpose, who you are as an educator. And that's what makes them the coolest. So just like our students, they're just as unique as you are as a professional. So I encourage you to try one of these. My website is on the bottom. I do present on technology often, so I love to see examples from students and presenters and participants. So I would love for you to send me your examples. Thank you for taking the time with me today, and I think we're going to open it up for questions for about the last 10 minutes. Oh, Dr. Shipley, you're on mute.
I just said, thank you so much, Dr. Hild. That was amazing. So many great ideas. She's such a techie person. She is awesome at this stuff. She does all the tech stuff for the conference. So bring on the questions because she is great at it.